Hi, this is SJ, and today we're going to be looking at your psychology paper. The two major questions that you had were, is the argument convincing and does it make sense? And so my answer to both is yes. So the argument is convincing because you have a strong introduction and you have a strong thesis. And then you also make clear points and give evidence for those points. And then it also makes sense. I have some feedback for your word choice, organization, and punctuation. I'm sorry, my dog's whining just a little bit, but I just have those points of feedback in addition, but overall, I think it's convincing and it makes sense. And I do want to let you know that we have a 5-page limit and your paper is 7 pages long. So I would recommend scheduling another consultation so we can go over that last page in your references page. But I do think that within those 5 pages, there was enough. I think it gets to your conclusion, or at least it feels like it's building up to your conclusion at the end of the 5th page. So I feel like I was able to evaluate the argument. And so we can move down to the 2nd page where your essay starts. And I think you, like I said, you had a very strong introduction. And in the 2nd paragraph, you say the moments she is remembering are known as autobiographical memories. And what I would recommend here is actually changing the word choice or the sentence structure. I put kind of a slash there because it's a little bit of both, which is I would recommend starting with her at the beginning. So she is remembering, and that makes her more of the focus, and then saying the moments known as. So that is what I would recommend, putting her first and then the moments, because the moments she is remembering are known as. I got a little bit confused because I was reading it as she is known as. So I think putting she is remembering the moments known as autobiographical memories helps with clarity. And then we can move down to this sentence. In Tula's case, she talks about specific times when she was in elementary school, middle school, and high school. So this is actually where I would recommend starting a new paragraph. It does make the paragraph above a little bit of a shorter paragraph, but if I scroll down, you can see this paragraph is a little bit on the longer side. So I would recommend a paragraph separation here right after lives, starting with in Tula's case, because here you have sort of a general statement, and I think it's good to leave on a general statement and then come in with a specific and talk more about that. And then down here we have, for example, in 1966, I would recommend a comma after 1966. So for example, comma, in 1966 or 1996, comma, Harry Barrick and his colleagues. So you would just have a little pause after 1996. And then we can move on to page 3. Down here, you say, I feel that this situation could be looked at from a different perspective. I would recommend staying away from first person, so anything with I statements. And I think it also, when you say I feel, rather than simply stating this situation could be looked at from a different perspective, it lowers the confidence of your statement a little bit. So I would recommend just taking out I feel that and starting with this situation. So it would just be this situation could be looked at from a different perspective. And then we can go on to the next paragraph where you say early on in the movie, there is a part where Tula is sitting in an alley. So again, this is where I would recommend a comma early on in the movie, comma, there is a part where Tula is sitting in an alley. And this is because you're kind of introducing the sentence this way. And so you would put a comma after movie. And we can move on to page 4. So I have another organizational bit of feedback, which is I would recommend starting a new paragraph on the sentence, a number of studies have been done on self-discrepancy theory, including one by Higgins, Friedman, and Shaw. So you would So you would put a space, you would put like you would indent it and press enter after. For this reason, Ian appears to be much more comfortable with who he is and does not spend time dwelling on who he could be. And the reason that I would recommend this is because in the previous part, you're talking about specific examples from the movie that show self-discrepancy. And then you go on to talk about the studies. And so I would recommend, since that has that like subject change, starting that paragraph there. And then another word choice recommendation that I have is taking out actually in this sentence. So to determine self-discrepancy, the average score for how much they thought they actually possessed these traits was subtracted. So I would recommend taking out actually and saying the average score for how much they thought they possessed these traits was subtracted. Actually feels a little bit unnecessary, and it takes a little bit from the flow of the sentence. I got a little bit hung up on it when I was reading it. And then this last page that we're looking at is the 5th page. And again, you're introducing a sentence. So you say in another scene. And so since that's introducing the sentence, you're going to want to put a comma after scene. Again, it's the same with later on. So we say later on, we see a part where Tula's father complains. And you'll want to put a comma after later on. And then lastly, I would recommend another paragraph here. So starting with, people tend to have an easier time accurately presenting themselves rather than manufacturing a personality, since that kind of goes along with like it introduces the study that you're going to talk about. And it's just a little bit of a transitional subject change. So I think that's a good sentence to start the paragraph on. And then that is all of the feedback that I have for you today. Again, I would recommend coming in for another consultation so that we can go over those last 2 pages. Have a great day. Bye.